gonna get what I already got. I'm sure a lot of you are sick of me saying that back in December when Coach Prime felt like he was landing somebody every 5 minutes. It was an absolute blast to watch. I enjoyed it. It was a good time. But now we find ourselves in the middle of July with Colorado recruiting for 2024. Basically abysmal. It's quiet. It's silent on the front end. You haven't heard too much, and it doesn't seem to be moving anywhere quickly. It compares to how Cormani McClain did in his first practice at Colorado, where he puked 7 times. We got a lot to talk about. Let's get into it. Now, before the Colorado fans start yelling at me and getting all worked up and whatnot, look, I'm talking football here, okay? I'm just laying out the land. Don't get upset with me and say I'm over here being a hater, because you can go back and look. I have gotten hate for being in true support of Coach Prime and what he's been doing in Colorado. All I'm saying is I'm looking at the facts here and addressing what's happened. Before we get into the recruiting, though, we got to look at what happened with Cormani McClain, where he puked 7 times on his first day at practice.
Bro, I threw up 7 times, bro. I ain't gonna fly. I ain't working, bro. It's working today. 7 times. I'm down bad right now, boy.
Now, why I find this so amusing, not because it's Cormani puking. Look, you expect those kind of things. He's up in Colorado. It's a new lay of the land. He's probably run out of breath pretty quickly. It's the altitude up there is absolutely insane. But this is what a lot of recruits show up to in their first weeks of practice, a rude awakening. Because this entire time they've been getting the red carpet treatment, been treated like a king this entire time, saying, you're the man, you're going to be the next best thing since sliced bread, not really realizing that it's going to be absolute hell when they show up to that school. And this is a prime example of that. Look, this isn't a knock towards Cormani whatsoever. It is funny. I'm sure a lot of top star studs had this same problem. Look, you're the #1, I think he's a safety or cornerback in the country. That dropped down once he committed to Colorado, but he was the #1 for a very long time. So there's a lot of expectations there for him to come in and be impactful right away. So is there a little, some concerns here? Maybe for some, not for me. But again, it's funny just to see these kids again. They're hot shots, the big-time studs, showing up to practice and getting absolutely slammed day one. But you expect those kind of things, especially if he's been hanging out. He's been off for the last few months, enjoying his vacation. Well, it's showtime. It's time to lock it in. It's July. And football, ladies and gentlemen, is only 50 days away. A lot of you are going to come at me and say,
Sheldon, it's only July. Relax. Look what he did last year. He landed all of his studs in late December, January, February.
I know he did. But there was something different between last year to this year. Last year, he didn't show up until December, Coach Prime, okay? He had the advantage of showing in, of being new, of being fresh, of being the shiny new toy on the block. So everybody wanted to go and figure out what was going on. That was his advantage, and he used it perfectly. Me, I anticipated that to roll over into 2024. You had full steam ahead. You had everything going your right direction. Unfortunately, though, they did land somebody, and then he decommitted and ended up committing to LSU, a 4-star recruit. So things have gone the complete opposite direction. And right now they find themselves, I believe, in 3rd place in the Pac-12. I think it's like 58th overall. Last year, mind you, with the additions to the transfer portal, they ended up top 25, which was extremely impressive for Colorado. Now, I did read an article recently where it said, look, they're probably going to be very selective in this 2024 recruiting class because they want to save room for the transfer portal. Now, that's all fine and dandy, but we've talked multitude of times on this. You still have to have a healthy recruiting class to complement the transfer portal. If you think he's going to go into the transfer portal and do the exact same thing that he did this year, where he does a complete turnover, you're crazy. You can't say, no, he's going to do that. If he's doing that, that means he's flipping over the team once again. You can't do that. At some point, you have to start to build a base. Now, I understand, again, it is only July. Things are starting to fill up. Bama is still sitting pretty low, which tells me they're going to land some dogs, meaning those dogs are going to start filling up. Miami, who I love to make fun and poke fun of, probably going to land a few dogs themselves. FSU's got some room left. Florida has some room left. These are guys that are top-tier schools that have some spots left. Oregon, they had a strong close last year. So all I'm saying is that players are starting to fill up, and you're going to be fighting with those big-time recruits. They also had a very quiet end of June where a lot of other schools had massive recruiting weekends. And another thing to note is a lot of their top targets, they had a couple wide receivers, a couple tight ends, a few wide receivers, and Ryan Wingo, he's a top-tier wide receiver. They had eyes on all these guys. All these guys have released their top 3 or have already committed, and Colorado is nowhere to be seen. Again, The reason for panic is I thought Coach Prime would come in and do a phenomenal job of recruiting. I thought he had an edge over the game. I know he could still turn things around, but I expected it to be a lot sooner than this and what's happening. There is going to be all eyes and all the critics on him to win some football games next year, okay? If that season goes the way that a lot of people are thinking that's going to go and not getting a lot of wins, that I have a feeling is going to impact recruiting a little bit, because if you're not recruiting now and you're banking off the fact that it's going to be successful, could that turn some people away? Could it also turn people away for the fact of how much he turned people over in the transfer portal? I don't know. I just have questions. I'm wondering. I thought for sure Colorado would find themselves easily in the top 25, top 30 in recruiting, especially for 2024 when things are still new. You are playing on the advantage of the unknown. Mario Cristobal did it last year with Miami, top 3 class. Now they're not doing as well right now, and I think a lot of it has to do just with how last year went, but they capitalized on being fresh, on being new. I thought Coach Prime was going to do the same thing. Doesn't seem that he's been doing that. Let me know down in the comments what you think. Are you nervous? Do you think that it's still too early? Do you think they still finish with a top 30 class? Or do you think it will be more of a top 40, just, kind of pick and choose class, and we'll see Coach Prime back at the portal again and seeing that's where he's going to build his class? Again, it's going to be something interesting to keep in mind, to keep a part of, to watch. Are they transferring into the Big 12? Lot to unpack here, a lot to unfold. Make sure you guys drop a like, subscribe, turn the bell on. We drop videos almost every single day. We'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.